Carol here. A wonderful warm welcome to my craft room once again. I am going to do a vintage shabby chic as soon as I've moved my Coca-Cola over. I've had one accident with that. I don't want another one during this project. Not good. So here we go. I found this at a thrift store some time ago. I'm pretty sure it was a thrift store. Or it was a Michael special, you know, some kind of sale anyway, and it was very inexpensive. So I put it away thinking later on I would do something to it as far as a remake, you know, to refurbish it and have it come alive in the style that I like, and which would be shabby chic vintage. So after getting it out from storage, I had to do, of course, a dust-free wipe and get, you know, all the little corners when you're going to put paper down. And I tried to keep this as much paper product as I could without using material, because I do like to use the material with the paper. It just seems to add to it. So it's 14 by 12 inches, and that's nice. And it's 2 inches in depth, which makes it nice as well. And you have a magnet already on this flip. So, you know, there wasn't really any construction that you had to do. That's what I'm trying to say here. No construction, just measuring and getting your papers somewhat in order, because when I do mixed media, and really, it doesn't matter that I show you all of these measurements, because I'm sure, I don't know if you have one like this that you're able to do. I can't remember where I bought it, so I apologize for that. Now, I wanted to use some gold. This is the craft paper I'm going to get out, and then I wanted to have 3 or 4 just on hand different papers, you know, 8.5 by 11 inch in different blue hues to match this absolutely beautiful collection of Scrap Mir, and it's called Blue and Blush, and Emma sent it to me all the way from France, so I'm getting out another collection pack. I did the flip envelope journal previous to this video. Now I'm going to be using all kinds of stash. This is where, if you get a project like this, a binder, whatever, but I thought this would be wonderful to store my leftovers from this collection. And I'll show you how I do that later on, because you just get clear binder plastic organizers to go in the rings. Here I'm just showing you this gorgeous collection. Look at this. I'm telling you, it was very hard to break into it and use it. That's how beautiful it was. It's over the moon beautiful. That's all I can say. It has the chipboard sayings are perfect. For shabby chic vintage, this collection just made it so easy for me. You have the bunny, everything looks like it's hand drawn. Just gorgeous, that's all I can say. And you have that beautiful swan. You have gold embedded in the back of some of these paper. Look at the gold flecks there. And the gold in this complete foiled sheet of blue paper. It's even coming out from the flowers. I don't think I've ever seen more beautiful paper in collections than going and checking out the Scrap Mir collections of paper. They're beautiful. They really are. So there it is, Blue and Blush. And I did my best. I really did, to find it very relaxing so that you could just gain some tips on starting something that is absolutely plain. It's just as plain. You couldn't get it more plain. And then I'm going to take you through the bloopers, many things that when you buy something like this, you have to keep in mind. that I didn't, and I ended up having to do an actual remake of a remake. So how's that? I had to remake my remakes. Ooh, yes. So besides the actual collection, I wanted to have some, fillers of matching colored paper, and that's why I went to my stash to get out some 8.5 by 11 sheets. This blue and blush, so many projects could be used with this, but I decided to stick with the large pieces, the 12 by 12. I have to get this metal piece off the back because I didn't want to add anything bulky to the back as far as metal's concerned. And I'm just checking how the actual binder clip, the 3-ring binder, was, and it was very secure in there. So that made it easy peasy. Now, if you're watching this, I would imagine that you enjoy shabby chic and vintage style projects. And I had these papers in my stash. This is a total stash. I had so much fun just going to my stash to collect things to match this. And this card stack, the 12 by 12, this is metallic paper. Now, there is a sheen on this cardboard that I'm using that I didn't realize it. I should have known. It's almost like Mod Podge that if you're not using the matte finish, it's the glossy finish. You know how you can run your hand over? It's kind of got this plastic coating. Well, that's on the actual box, and when you add, I was trying this tacky glue, Aleene's tacky glue. That isn't a good choice. You're going to see through this. All the lines that you made, they did not seat themselves well. It didn't ooze out so that it would be nice and flat. It actually stayed in whatever pattern I put it on the paper. So I decided to take this Dreamweaver metal. It's for my paste, modeling paste. It's a modeling paste thingy. And then I decided to do double-sided tape, and this is the 1/8 tape. I was reminded, if many times I say with the little, the wee tape that I'm using on the corners here, I always say 1/16 of an inch. And I was corrected nicely by my friend Tina that there aren't any 1/16 of an inch sequin tape runner. The smallest that she could find was 1/8. So I apologize to anybody that was looking online for 1/16 of an inch double-sided tape. I'm sorry about that, and thank you for finding that out for me, Tina. Now here's where you're going to see things went really wrong for me. Not only a total waste of product, and product isn't cheap. If you buy it, well, of course you're going to buy it unless it's given to you. In my case, the papers were gifted, but the sequin tape is not inexpensive, neither is your glue. In this craft, you have to be very careful you don't make too many mistakes. And I made them as far as the paper, not realizing that if it has a sheen to it, like this metallic paper, and you're trying to put it down on paper that has a sheen, I really should have ripped off the paper that came with this binder. I'm sure it would peel up and I would be right down to the natural cardboard. I should have thought of that, but I didn't. And it's a learning experience, and I'm so glad I get to share it with you so that you won't make the same mistakes on some of the issues that I did on this. And it didn't matter how many times I tried to release the glue, pull it out, ooze it out from the sides. You have to see it to believe it once we're finished. Now, the one thing that's wonderful about mixed media is, I know people think that you can just put something anywhere because it's mixed media, but no, there is a plan. There is a, there is a think to it, if I could put it like that. You have this picture in your mind as you're going along. Now this worked for me. That silver worked for me. I don't know why it didn't work in some areas, but let's just move along. I want to share my thought process here. So I put one 12 by 12 metallic silver piece down, and then nothing looks sweeter than to rip the sides of, rip out some pieces so that you have a center to work with. Now this is going to be my front page. So I'm keeping in my mind that this is going to be my main focal point. And on the back, I can't put any bulk so that it raises it up, because obviously you have to seat it down on a table. And then I thought, well, I could put legs on it. So I'll venture out and we'll look at that later on in the tutorial. And thank you. I know my friend Janet from Brooklyn is watching this, because she's a mixed media genius. And I really like to get her critique on my work, because we've worked together. She's visited me on many occasions for trips. And she went from doing A2 plain and simple cards to being a magnificent mixed media artist. So Janet, I hope you are able to glean some inspiration from my mixed media piece here. One thing I like to do that's probably backwards as far as think-wise, my thinker, is I like to create the front page of anything that I'm doing. Now you would think that you don't want to do that, because you have to keep flicking this over and setting it down and worrying about, the bulk of whatever you're creating to get damaged. But I like to know that the first focal point is finished, and then I can run off of that for the rest of it. Okay, here's the granddaddy of my wonderful machine that adds the double-sided tape. And it's fantastic. And of course it's my Xyron runners. I think I have all the sizes, and this to me is worth, if you buy things on sale, you don't mind using it, because if you have to put another cassette down in there to start over. I don't think I used one whole cassette in all this project at all. Nowhere near it. I just had a little bit left over, and I had to put another cassette down in it. So, and then I used a little bit off of that. But to me, it's worth it to have this double. When you're doing a project like this, any albums, I find this is the way to go. So here we are. I have the straight edge going on the bottom and the top. I kind of folded it over here. And I want to say something. Tissue paper. If you can find matching tissue paper, it will save you time and space. It's easy to work with. It fills in. And I had some gorgeous, lots of it, tissue paper that I absolutely loved. I don't know if it's a Tim Holtz tissue paper. It had like old adages, like it had boots, it had trains, it had just the category, different printing. It was gorgeous, and I think you're going to love it. And it filled in a lot of space where I couldn't have used thick, bulky paper. And with this collection, Scrap Mir, and any other collections of paper that I like, they're thick papers. So keep that in mind when you're working in small areas of having a thinner paper. Now look at how bad that blue paper looks inside there. Bubbles, everything you don't want was happening in there. And I did have to rip it all up and get it out of there. But I'll show you how I did it and the reasoning behind how I did it. Now for a main page like this, I know that I have to fold it over. I know I have those magnet clips that I have to create. And that's where the tissue paper came into play. if you have a lot of edges and folds and things you have to tuck, I suggest tissue paper. It's the easiest, and if you're using Mod Podge, it's fantastic to seat it down. It's a magnificent glue. So here I wanted to run this through the Xyron. I knew I had 9 inches. So I'm dealing, you know, if I'm dealing with 12-inch paper, I have to cut her back, right? So I'll cut maybe 8 3/4 of a sheet. I'll run the other ones through my 6-inch here, and whatever works for whatever papers that I have, I run it through the Xyron machines. It's quick, it's easy, and not only that, once you get the plastic up on this, you can rip it. You know, rip right along the plastic where it's seated, which is great because whatever you have extra remains on the plastic sheet. And as you can see, I'm just tearing it out, and this swan is going to be my focal point right here. And I'm going to share with you, I took out some dark navy by LDRS Creative. It's a hybrid ink, and I ended up covering it up. I just found that making the edges dark drew the eyes in, and I didn't want that. So although it looks nice to have the ink there, I'm trying to kind of move it around so that the eye isn't drawn right to the center. And you'll see why as we get going on the creative end of it. I wanted the water to look, like water. And the easiest way to do that without putting glossy accents and getting it all messed up all over your project, waiting for it to dry, the easiest thing to do is grab acetate and put it over top of your image. It gives you the look of water. It gives you the look of a framed piece of art. It's absolutely the easiest thing to do to get the look of water and not have a mess all over. Believe it or not, the edit on this, although it was under 20 hours of work, I think it was only 12 or 13 hours I had to edit down. It was a fun edit because mixed media, you can take out a lot of things. There's just a little bit of fuzz in there, so I had to lift up the acetate. And you know my acetate, I buy the page protectors at my stationery store at Beatty's, and because it's thicker and I like the look of it. And it doesn't seem to gravitate a lot of lint and stuff to it. So I have bought that, and you get 100 sheets in a box. I wanted to use gold because of having the gold foil in the papers. So I took a punch, and it was, I think it was a Martha Stewart punch, and it had flowers, and it went right along with the theme. So I thought I would do the upper left on the flowers. Yeah, you have to take the top clear foil off if you're going to do any ripping. And then I thought, no, I don't think I want to add this as a big bulk, you know, featuring a huge amount of paper on the front. So that's why I looked over and I saw my punches. There it is. And only the flowers punch out, which is gorgeous. So here is the beginning stage of what I will design around as far as the inside. Now you have to remember as I am cutting this, isn't that a beautiful stamp? No, it's not a stamp. Punch? Yeah, punch. And I actually had to kind of round out the edges there. I just, something about using your punches is so quick and easy when you're doing mixed media. And the one thing I want to say that you have to remember also is you have the front, the inside, so you have 2 pieces that are 12 by 14 inch you need to create. You have 2 flaps. You have that container, I'll call it a pencil container or a paintbrush container or doodad paper holder. You have that, the inside of it, then you have the back side. I mean, there's so much space to cover in this project. It made it really, and just fun. I always say enjoyable. It truly was. And here's my little box of leftover stash that I got out from, you know, probably the last 5 or 10 projects I've been doing. and I just put them in a box, and then I go back and see what I can use. And I set it aside. Whether I use it, you know, yeah, you find envelopes full of nice stashy stuff. And I love that navy paper right there. So I just grabbed all the pieces, parts that I had left over. But you know, I didn't want to incorporate black. To me, it just wasn't the thing to do. So I had this in my stash. It's pre-folded. It has a really nice texture, and it was in the beautiful teal color, that aqua. I really love that color. And yeah, it's like an accordion here. I got out my Tim Holtz stapler, and believe it or not, I couldn't find, yeah, believe it or not, my staples. I have them in a box, and I couldn't find that box. So I went back, opened up the stapler, and I said, okay, I have enough to just do the bottom. And I'm not kidding. Every staple was just enough to do this bottom tuck, this accordion fold. And I'll just stop the edit and share where I got that. Just a second. I'm back. This is the Fusibles by We Are Memory Keepers. The color is mint. It's 1 inch in deep, and you get 16.5 feet on a roll, and it is to use with the fuse tool. Instead of using staples, you can fuse it together. So this color is mint. Okay, sure. I'll try to leave it on my blog and remember that. I got out some flowers, tons of flowers. And I really only had the top to work with as far as doing a flower arrangement. I love doing flower arrangements on any project that you have this amount of space. So I went to the old stash and tried to match as many colors as I could in towards the mint green there, the turquoise mint green. And don't you love there's something about going into your stash, opening up a treasure chest of things we've never used and get it out to go along with the construction. Now see this, I'm jumping in here, but I'm holding that bow made out of twigs. That was on a wreath that I got years and years ago at a thrift store. And I kept it, and then what I'm doing here, I'm just taking some of it out so it's not so thick. I'm just lightening up the twigs on this, and it was easy to do, and then I got to use some extra twigs later on. But these are my dollar store rolls of cotton ribbon, and I had that in my stash. You know, my dollar store where nothing's a dollar. I bought 5 or 6 rolls, and I was able to use them on this because wood and cotton go together, don't they? They really do. So I tied a piece off, and I want to hold this together. There was wire holding it together, but I don't know where it was in this massive mess on my island here. You can tell everything is just oozing in towards me, so I have to be careful. But I did stop and clean some of it up. But I do work well sometimes in a mixed media project with a mess all over. I'm just showing you there. And when they have these on sale at, well, they're $1.25 a roll, I try to get 2 of the same ones because I know there's not going to be a ton on them, and you may want to have, you know, you may want more than what's on just 1 roll. So I did have 2 rolls with the same pattern. That's what I'm trying to say there. So you can see on here, I did take out, you know, a little bit on the editing. I have tissue paper down to cover up. Now, I wanted to use Mod Podge. I'm just showing you that's where I wanted the bulk of my flowers on this beautiful branch bow. But I didn't have any matte. I didn't have any matte glue. I couldn't believe it. I looked everywhere for matte. So I had to keep in mind that I was using gloss. And the reason why I say that, if you use gloss, you're going to see your swipes, you know, with your paintbrush because it's going to shine, and everything else won't because it'll be matte as far as your papers. So I wanted to keep that in mind. And yeah, it's all I had was the Mod Podge gloss, and it worked for me. I was fine with it, you know, as long as you put them in the right spots. I think it looks fine. You have the shine of the beautiful gold foil. You have the shine to the glossy glue. And you have the acetate, and it has the shine, so it all works itself together. Yeah, so I hope everybody's having a wonderful Saturday. This is kind of a busy day for me. I wanted to get this up today, so I have been a busy beaver trying to get the edit, this voiceover done so I can put it up for you. And yeah, there's that roll I got at Sharon's store in Buffalo quite a few years, well, at least 2 years ago. Do you remember that, Janet? We bought that there. Bonnie was with us, and they had this beautiful linen ribbon with these dangles on it, and it has gold threads holding the dangles. So pretty. And here we go. You can tell that this is gloss. Even the other glue that I used ended up being gloss. But you know, set your mind to, you have to use what you have and be content. And that's what I did. And there's that little mint flower that'll work its way across the, I like to say braid, but it's not a braid. The fusible paper there. The accordion, that's what it is. The accordion. And it's ombre, which is really nice. It goes light to dark. It's so pretty. So, okay, the upper right and the lower left. That's what I went for when designing it. I did an L shape in the lower left with the dangle, gorgeous ribbon and glass beads, the chandelier type beads. It really was pretty, really was pretty. And then, you know, you get all of these not chipboard pieces, but the paper pieces. So you get to use those. And another suggestion, if you're doing a piece, a larger piece, and you're using a paintbrush, take a tall paintbrush, because you can work away from your project, which is nice. You don't have to be right down into it because you have a short paintbrush. If you have a longer paintbrush, I think mine are like 12 inches, 14 inches long. They're super long collection of paintbrushes I bought some time ago. And I used that. And then pick out one that you're going to use all the time, because, you know, that's a designated glue paintbrush. So that's what I did here. So here we go. I am taking out flowers and flowers. Remember these, Janet, when you were there, you made all of these scrunched roses. They were really tight. And I just took them and I worked them out so that they weren't so tight, because they were paper and I loved them. So here I have, the green didn't work. You know, that bright green, it wasn't it. Unless you have, you can cover it with gesso, but you can see the teal, the mint. That green has to come off because get rid of it there. Yes, I went with the creams. And then I used my Lindy Stamp Gang sprays. Oh yes, Stash Erroneous. I'm using my Lindy Stamp Gang sprays. I love Lindy's. It has that metallic fleck inside of it that I love. It really is a gorgeous, gorgeous spray. Colored spray. So here, you know, if I wanted to match up, what I wanted to do here is raise it up. So I just took some corrugated board, lifted it up, and put it on top of the flat piece of, it's not the cardboard chip placements. I can't remember what they call those. You just get a lot of that in a package inside your collection. It's really nice to take out your flowers and leaves and everything you have in your stash to make these arrangements. I find it so pretty. And flowers look really nice next to wood, doesn't it? And look at that beautiful swan in that navy. and it has the acetate on there. You have the shadow in the water. Just beautiful. So I used a chipboard piece right here. I kept my hot glue available to me, the Mod Podge in, well, like I said, I didn't have any matte left over, so I had to use my gloss, but that's okay. It's a wonderful glue. I think sometimes I forget to use it as a glue. And that was a little cardboard round piece with a little bunny head on it. I love the way it incorporated the swans with this freehand painted bunnies, and everything looked hand painted. Even the swan, it just was gorgeous. So here I'm just tapping in some color onto the Mod Podge that I set down on top of this linen ribbon. It was really nice to use. So as you can see, I did them in clusters. I just worked in clusters of each corner. I put, you know, maybe like a green cluster in this corner and more of a blue cluster. I like to use the chipboard, corrugated board, excuse me, and I always keep a piece of corrugated board around in my stash so I can just rip a piece off and use that. It looks very woodsy, very earthy, really nice. And then you can take your applicator and your ink and go around all of your paper cuts, you know. And look at that bunny, isn't he sweet? I didn't put him there, but you almost can tell where I did put him. It's in the lower left cluster here, where the pretty, it's kind of like a pink brown. So beautiful, you know, and they matched them up even in the leaf colors. It was gorgeous. Added a light blue. The color, oh, that would have looked nice like that with the corrugated board so that the bunny wasn't in space. And then use some of the twigs that I had left over. Yeah, and then I had these beautiful flowers in my stash with my fabrics. They're fabric flowers. And it was, see them right there in the center bottom? Isn't that gorgeous? It matched the, you know, when you go around and you look in your stash for things that go with different collections that you buy, it's amazing how you can make it work for you. You know, there's where I put the corrugated board right there. I kind of cornered off that one corner because remember I said I didn't like the way that I used the dark, deep navy around the swan. So the corrugated board worked out well. And in my flowers, I always use the wire. I put the wire around something that's small and round, in my case a nail file, so that I get that long twirly look off of the flowers. And then I picked out two beautiful colors that matched in my oxide inks. Isn't that pretty? That one is, excuse me, that one is a cloth flower. It almost looked like a wedding flower. And you can just tea dye them, you know, and spray them. In my case, I did with the Lindy Stamp Gang. I took out a lot of different colors. I loved this piece here. This is an LDRS Creative die piece. It's an actual, a whole frame. I can tell right off the bat. I loved this when I saw it, and I'm able to incorporate it as well from another project, you know. Keep a baby wipe on hand if you're working with glue, because you'll be able to just run it across your paper. And then I just used my oxide inks to make the white not so white, you know, or the beige not so beige. That was pretty, but I don't think I put that there now that I'm looking at it. And I wanted to say, when I was at Michael's, they have these big sprays of plastic leaves and flowers. They're huge, and I'm going to show you in this video how I bought it. It has, you just take little pieces off of it, you know, off of the great big spray of leaves, and it is plastic, but you would never know it once you put gesso over top of it, and then you spray it, or leave it just in the white, you know, color that gesso comes in. Well, I think it comes in all kinds of colors now, but Yeah, I knew when I bought that spray I would get a lot of use out of it in mixed media projects, even for your cards. And then I stuck some skeletal leaves inside. Oh, I just love these. They're so delicate. It just goes with everything here. I love that you can see through them. They just are gorgeous, aren't they? And I think they're just called skeletal leaves. And I bought them in the beige color. Now here there's no way I was covering that up. No way. I just loved it. So I don't know what I was thinking there. Then I just keep my oxide inks available to me to tone down any colors that I want. And just sit there and really just relax. Just relax. You've got products all around you that your eye will just gravitate to put in certain spots, and you can see how it just comes together. Even using plastic leaves, isn't that amazing? I just put that gesso on top, and you could see every detail of those leaves. All the veins just stuck out. You wouldn't even know it was plastic. I'm not kidding. And I want to show you that spray because you'll see it at Michael's all the time when you go in there. And I bought a cluster of pink and white orchids, and I put it down into a glass vase, and I put that spray just in the corner of my window, and I'm just working my way, taking it off. There I go, right here. I'm just putting the gesso over top of my plastic leaves and over top of the wood. Gesso is a wonderful product because it allows you to use sprays or inks, and it will adhere to wherever you have the gesso. Your sprays and inks will adhere beautifully. So I am just going to move rather fast. I tried to pull it so, together in a manner where you could watch it. It wasn't too fast, but yet we had some time to do all the rest of this box. There's a lot of wonderfulness put into this. And, I was thinking that for now I'm storing the papers that I've used in this collection inside this vintage Shabby Chic box. Isn't that bunny so cute tucked in there with the little bunny head following from behind? So cute. And yeah, and then you just add some color to that die on the bottom. A project like this, I'm just going to share it once again. I just glue gunned another chipboard up on the top. You don't have to worry about things being dead on, straight, and the placement doesn't have to give you a headache wondering where to put this, put that. It will all come together. Once your paper, is put down and you have the base, you can run with it. And I'm telling you, everything will turn out nice. I'll guarantee it. You just put a ton of your stash around you in a basket and start laying out what your eye gravitates to, and you will have a blast. And like I said, try and get some tissue paper for those intricate spots. You do want to have some tissue paper with a big project. Tissue paper and Mod Podge will get into the corners, Here I have a chipboard piece. I'm going to put it off to the right with some of the twigs. Come down a little, right there, right there. And I also use the 3D lacquer, the crystal lacquer, which is just like using, I gotta have some loving. I just love, 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 love these twigs. I had to have a reminder of my gold hearts come out. But it's like glossy accents, the crystal lacquer. And I put it on that chipboard piece that I'm working on right there with the twigs. And I also put it on the top chipboard piece, really thick too. I let it sit overnight, and it looked wonderful. It matched the acetate where the swan was. So, and I kept it in the rule of thirds. Then I used the lacquer or glossy accents, and on the flowers, I put little round dots on all the flowers to look like dew. Even on the paper pieces, I put little round dots to look like the morning dew on the flowers end of it. Yes, and so everything's coming together. I just tucked a little piece of that cotton ribbon I had down in the corner. I just folded it in half. And I love flower stash, don't you? Because you can take out all little pieces, parts that you have, and add it. Here I have a deep, deep navy flower, and then I have a deep, deep, no, I think this one, let me just see here. I got that bag at a thrift store. It's fabulous. I had a real dark green, so I twirled the ends around, you know, so I had those curly cues, and then I put that inside the plastic leaves there. I love these leaves. You have to look for this at Michael's. They're inexpensive. When I show it to you in a picture, you're going to love it. They just come off the stem, and you put, like I said, and I'll repeat it again, you just put your gesso on it, and it works out perfect. And while I was creating this yesterday, I was able to put a roast in the crock pot, and my supper was all ready for us to eat. I'm going to show you, okay? Are you ready? Look at this. That was my dinner. And I was able to craft, and my whole dinner was finished at the end of my crafting. I had to throw that in there. Is that not funny or what? I love throwing, oh, there's tons of carrots. I put the carrots down on the bottom with the onion, and then it's just a blade roast and some potatoes. Yummy. We ate it today too. We ate it for supper last night, and yeah, I had that on Thursday. Sorry, because today's Saturday, and then we had leftovers yesterday, and I used the gravy today. I made some home fries for Hunter and I. Hunter came over, so I made him some French fries and some gravy. Yum, yum. So here we go. I am cutting the label off there, and I need to have I need to have a 9 inches, yes, to run through my Xyron. So here are the craft sheets, you know, the 8.5 by 11 craft sheets. This is nice to tear and use up space. You know, you don't want to use all of your collection paper in every space. Well, you could, but you want to save some of it if you want to do another project. In my case, I'm going to do another envelope journal and put it inside of this, because if I choose to give it away on my 20,000 subscriber celebration, if I do reach that, if I don't, I'll just give it away anyway. And if I do, it's going to be a fun celebration, because I've been collecting and making things for that. There's the tissue. Isn't that super? Look at it. And tissue goes on. Oh my. You can do it this way, or you can do it, you know, when I got a little bit late. No. Oh, I knew it. I knew he would drop by when there was glue involved. It's either when I'm using my cutter, you know, my slicer, my paper slicer, or when I'm putting glue on. He loves to come by. Look how nice that tissue looks on this project. It not only uses up a lot of space, but it's almost the direct color line of what I'm using. And like I said, baby wipe. You have to remember your edges there. This folds over. So, yeah. And then I made sure that I put the Mod Podge all over the place so that the shiny was all over. And then you can, well, I didn't rip that out intentionally. It got stuck to my fingers. Oh my fingers were a mess. I tell you what, it was worth it though. But they were a mess. Yes, everything was a mess, but it was a nice mess. Yeah, it was so nice to hear from Leah. She said that her husband had to do a sleep therapy thing overnight, and so she watched my long tutorial in the night. I kept her company. So I'm really glad, Leah. Thank you for sharing that with me. I love my comments, and yeah, Bonnie does that lots. And Pam, she always says to me that every time I do a tutorial, I mention food and it makes her hungry. So there you go, Pam. That's a roast. Now you can make yourself a pot roast, Pam. Oh my. Yes. I love getting to know my subscribers. I really do. So here we are. See what I mean by using that tissue paper for the magnetized closure? And there you have it. Now we can work on the back. I had this one, without taking a breath, right? I had this one sparkly, glittery snowflake. And I know this has nothing to do with snowflakes or winter, but I had to use it. And I love this painted look to that navy paper going back and forth, back and forth. It looks like water. I just love it. And I must have been, I'm sorry, answering an email. And look at this piece with just the flowers and that, oh my, I didn't know where to go. I had so much beautifulness all around me. It was fantastic. So there I put down, I used my Mod Podge, and I used, this was in gloss as well, that Ranger glue, but look how I was getting right down to the bottom of it. So I had to break open my Mod Podge. And yeah, I put the swans in the water. I mean, look at that paper. It looks just like water. You don't have to do anything to it. And I put my swans in there. I love the top swan with the flowers where the leaves are. Now, I wanted to do this brown piece of craft paper in a stencil. And I chose the damask here. And I took out my Heidi Swapp gold. Oh, it just left me there. The stencil paste in the gold, and then I grabbed a couple of plastic knives and went to town. I filled it right in all the way, just, and it's so soft, this Heidi Swapp gold in the tube for the paste, you know, the modeling paste, that's the word. It's so smooth that it just went in all of the crevices beautifully. Look at that. And then you don't have to worry about that one. I tried to get it off, but that's all you need to do. Then place it down, and because I didn't wash it, it's ooh, oh, you're going to be sticky. Come on, finish all of it, Carol. Oh, yes, I don't want to get too sticky. So here we go. I am going to have this run all the way across, and this is going to seat on the inside bottom page. So I left it to dry, and is that not beautiful? It's like making your own paper, so to speak, isn't it? I'll dry it off so it doesn't take so long to dry, because I wanted to use it, you know, the same afternoon I was creating. And I think I started this on Thursday, and I finished it yesterday. So yeah, squirt that out. It's so soft. It is so soft. The palette knife just oozes over it, so to speak. It's such a pretty paste. So here we go. I'll just clean off the knife. Make sure you clean all of your stencils right away. Don't leave it to dry. And yeah, there you go. I love stencils. Don't you? I don't use them enough. I have a whole big container full of them, and I need to use them more because they're just beautiful. Here's another Tim Holtz Floral one, and I decided to use the Liquitex molding paste because it's nice and thick, and went on. It's thick and thin at the same time. It's so smooth, right beside my snowflake. It was so beautiful. It just started snowing in my craft room. And I left spaces on the stencil when I went across it. I didn't do the whole one, the whole square. Just do a little bit here, a little bit there. I even put a clock, I think. The flowers, and then I'm pretty sure I put a clock on here. Maybe I was thinking of putting a clock. I must have put it somewhere because it's on my mind. I wanted to use some stencils. I just wanted to, there it is. I knew I did. Oh yeah. And then this is crackle paste. This is the best crackle paste I've ever bought. And I have used a lot of brands of crackle paste. This, by far, is the best. You get the best crackles with this. It just cracks all in the right spots, so to speak. That is the Deco Art Crackle Paste. I just stopped the edit and went to look at it for you. And see, I want you to look at the right-hand side of the swan. To see that corrugated board, I put glue on there and I took out some frills and some beads and all kinds of beaded goodness, and I poured it into the board, the corrugated board, so it would seep down in there and the glue would adhere it. And I'm telling you, and then I took a toothbrush with some glue on it and I flicked it around the right hand side of it, and I just took the beads and let them seep wherever the flicking portions of glue were, and it just made such a beautiful image onto the corrugated board. And it's only a little piece that I ripped off there. And then look at that. Now, it's amazing how the gray metallic paper on the lid worked well, but the inside of that, oh, I had some thinking to do. Well, not really. I just tore it out. Started over. So let's work on this. Wherever there was, now this is 2 inches, right? And you can see my Mod Podge and you can see my Lindy Stamp Gang sprays, and I've got to think, okay, I think the back, look at the crackles. Look, is that amazing for crackle paste? It looks like you just took paste and smashed it with your fist or a hammer and it all cracked. And all that was just swooping it over the stencil and letting it dry. Oh, I love it. I even like the look of that snowflake, you know? That's what I say about mixed media. Everything goes together. Everything goes together. It's so pretty to work with. So let's work on the edges now with the Mod Podge. I'm going to put this, I love this blue. I wanted to work its way from the front to the side. So I had the swan in the water. I had some of this. Don't throw anything out. When you rip a piece of paper, even if it's just a slight 1/4 inch left over, keep it, because you'll be able to fill a space. And then if it starts to work its way up, tissue paper. Just seal it with tissue paper and it won't come up. Tissue paper, I love working. I could work with that all the time. It just, the placement's perfect all the time. It goes down, it dries quickly. It's appealing to the eye. I just love it. Yeah, there's some more of it. Boy, I had a ton of that. I think this was in a set. I'm pretty sure I got it at the shop Simplicity, and the stamp store Simplicity in Port Colborne here close to me. And it came with a stencil. And it had all of this tissue paper folded up inside of it. It's all coming back to me now. That's why I ended up with it. It looked so nicely folded. It came in a set. And there you have it. And you can cover any mistakes that you have. Here I was just going over with some hybrid ink, the edges with that navy. I love that. I love hybrid ink, you know that. And so here I am just thinking, now what do I do with this? Yeah, well, with that, that's the flip magnet piece. So I just covered it quickly with tissue paper. Yeah. And it's quick, it's easy, you can apply layers of it. You don't want paper on this because the magnet, I didn't put the magnet on there, and it's, you know, it is magnetized, but it's not super magnetized. So I make sure that you look at that if you're doing a project like that. If you don't put your own magnets and you know how they are, oh, this is the Lindy Stamp Gang. It has this metallic on the bottom, and I'll show you how I organize my Lindy Stamp Gang sprays in a minute. So here we go. I covered that, sprayed it, and of course, I want to have another stencil. So it had all of these wonderful sayings. I kept it straight. I just used the plain molding paste. Isn't that lovely? Oh, went right over. You know, this makes a covering but not a covering, if you know what I mean. It covers up some spots but leaves your work underneath it to showcase. So that's what I'm trying to say. And it gives you the depth. because you don't want it too high, right? The lid's going to come down on this. So I had to keep that in mind as I was adding layers of either the cutouts or the paper. That my one, it had to fold over and it had to magnetize. So you want to make sure you don't put too many layers on whatever underneath. So here we go. I'll take that. It doesn't matter what mess I have in there because I am ripping this out. I'm going to take my Fiskars cutting knife. I'm going to cut down because there was no way I could keep this. I mean, look at it. You could see every piece of glue. I took it out on each side. I just tore it out. And yeah, here we go. Don't look at my hand working my mouse there. I don't know what I was doing. Don't I have a mess all the way around? I loved it. I loved working. When you're working with a big project, it's nice to have stuff all over. You don't have to run and get anything either. So as I was thinking, I'm thinking, okay, I have to do something in there. And I chose to use all tissue paper on the inside. There was just too many corners to have to seat paper. And yeah, just snapped right down. Now, what am I going to do with that? Oh my. I know what you're going to do. You're going to just leave it for a second. I put down the ribbon on the inside to secure I didn't want that look of the paper being all crinkly. So going over it with this cotton ribbon was fabulous. Fabulous. But let me tell you this. I never thought of this. Right down on the bottom, this has to fold over. I had that snap, and when you fold it, you can't have any bulk down there. So I had to cut it all off. I put too much, excuse me, yeah, no, oh, he wanted to get one last walkthrough on that paper full of glue. What can I say? Yeah, I put too much bulk right there. You can't do that. So be mindful. Not only that, I put a bow. Can you believe this? I actually put a bow down there. Not even thinking that this thing has to fold over and the snap, the magnet has to magnet onto the other side. So yeah, that didn't work out. Well, it did because I own scissors and I'm scissor happy, so it worked out well for me. I just chopped it all off. And then to fill it, see how I put glue across there? That's not going to work. You have to close this. So that's another boo-boo I wanted you to see. So if you do something like this that folds over, don't put bulk on either end of the closure, how it has to close. Even if I did that, it didn't help. And look at that. It really looked nice. It looked nice to have that cotton bow. I love the look of it. But oh my, what was I thinking? You can't fold that. Like you can't push that lid over and have it snap to the other side of the magnet. Yeah, it looked pretty for a little while, and then I cut it all off. I used the bow in another spot, but I did have to cut it off. So I left that in the edit, so you remember that whatever has to turn or, you know, fold over, you want to keep that free of any bulk. So here we go. I'm working on the inside lid. Aren't there a lot of spots to work with? You know, if you have a collection, this is going to use it for sure. But funny thing, I say that because I had so many things left over. I didn't cut into, I don't think, any of the 8x8 pack. I have a ton of this to do another envelope journal and set it in there. So here I'm using up my pieces parts that I had glued down with my Xyron. And but even though you use the Xyron, you want to use a liquid glue. Trust me on that. Mod Podge works excellent. It's an excellent glue. So here we go. And I should have moved my mouse. I don't know, I'm working glue. I always have something, you know, around me that I don't want to get glue on. So here we go. I have this palette knife that I push across to get glue out. Now this is funny. I put this in there. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought, okay, I wonder if I just cover it up, if you'll be able to see all those bubbles and the glue and the air, mostly air bubbles and glue. And would it work? You know, and I took great care to do this, but no, it didn't work. It was terrible. I just thought, it doesn't matter, Carol. Just take your knife, cut down there and start from scratch. And it's amazing how, see, just make a line. Make sure you leave some of it. You know, you don't want to get too close to your ribbon. And look how easy this came up. Easy peasy. Like, look. And it's all off there. Can you imagine? And there wasn't enough glue. I didn't use any liquid glue. That was my problem. I used double-sided tape and hot glue. That will not keep it on this board. This is a waxy board, and it would not hold. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get my Mod Podge right here. I'm going to just saturate it, and I'm going to keep going over and over it. I had an old face cloth, and I just kept working it. Then I got out a sponge. I had these Stampin' Up! Sponges that I bought 100, well, at least 4 years ago. And I used some of that and baby wipes, and I tried to get as much of the air bubbles out as I could. And then I'm going to, see that one right there? Yeah. And don't even look at your hands when you do this. I must have washed my hands 20 times through this project. 20 times an hour. Yeah. So here we go. I'm going to have that. I'm going to put flowers on this side, because flowers, you can't, the pattern is so pretty that you're not going to see past it. If you use a solid color, it's not going to work. A solid over a solid. Doesn't that look beautiful with the swans and the leaves and the cardboard piece and the clasp on there? It's just a sweet project if you see one of these to house supplies, because you have the binder, and all you do is buy those see-through vinyl binder zipped up bags like I buy, and you put them right in here, and then put your pieces parts inside that side piece. I just love it. I just love this box, and I knew I would use it when I bought it. I think it was housing stationery. It's all coming back to me now. I think it was housing some stationery products in here. It's not anymore though, is it? No. So there you have it. This is how much we have. Look at there. I'm cutting out the bulk. You have to cut it right up to the metal part where you flick it down and your prongs open up. You cut that right off. Take your bow off, cut the bulk out, and then you know what we're going to use? Tissue paper. There's a little space where you're going to see the actual box. Just cover it with tissue. It's super thin. There you have it. It's all nice and finished. All we have to do is the inside, each side of the cover, and just take that out. See how you see a little bit of the box and a little bit of the paper? Take it off there and put your wonderful tissue paper down. It's super thin. It won't take up any bulk, and you'll be able to close this easy peasy. And I just love the look of it. I love that chipboard corrugated board there where the leaf is on the top, and I put all those beads in there. I thought that was, it just gave it some beautiful color to match the flowers in that teal green color, the mint, like that. I love the We Are Memory Keepers. What is that? That folding underneath the swan there. The accordion paper was so nice. And yeah, I'm just doing just staring at it a little bit before I tackle the inside. So to get this piece to work on this side, I went down, you have all the sides, right? So that's what I said. This tissue paper came in handy. I was so thankful to find it in my stash. So I was able to cover the inside 2 inches there and fold it all the way down. And you can see how it's nice to work with a long paintbrush, can't you? It's far enough away from you that your face isn't right down into your project. And then you're able to do some tuck spots with the other end of the paintbrush. Just switch it around and do some pokey stuff with it. And look how it covered that blue piece of paper up. And it'll hold it down as well, with that. And then you can add whatever paper you want as you're, going along. Just keep it all out, but yeah. Okay, I am going around to look at any places I have to use my Mod Podge to fill in and fold over. I tried to get all the tops of the edges, of this actual box to be covered. But if you don't, it's not going to matter because it's light green and, I don't think you're going to be bothered by it. And folding it over the tissue, here I ripped it, but even if you did fold it over and put some on the opposite side, it would be fine. Now here's our craft 8.5 by 11 inch paper. I tore the top piece off. I kept the edge to go into the corner here, adding quite a bit of glue on there, and look at that. It doesn't matter that you don't have, you see on the left where it's not covered with the molding paste, but the gold paste, but that's okay. We're going to cover that with pretty paper. And I love the way it's torn at the top where it's seated on top of your tissue paper. That's always nice. And then if you have an edge to go, there's my sponge. I actually got to use these sponges. You bought them 3 in a pack. Here you go. We have that piece of paper. Yep, that stuck to my thumb. And you will see later on, I took it out of the edit, but I did add some of the flower pieces, the pattern pieces of paper there and to the top portion. So I covered up what I took off with my thumb. And look at that page on the right. Is that not beautiful paper with that foil flex in the flowers? And you can't beat having brown and blues together. Beautiful combo. Then I ripped into this piece of paper. I love torn edges. So if you tear it away from you, you don't get that torn look. If you tear it towards you, you do. I think that's a way, or vice versa. I can't remember now. I should have a piece of paper here and I could tell you. But I'll tell you in just a second. Oh, I had those Tim Holtz feet. But that didn't work either because it had the flap going over and magnetized. So I couldn't use the legs for this. It would have looked nice if it was just a box. But because it wasn't, I couldn't use it. That's all right. It looked nice just like this. And it was nice and flat on the bottom. And I'm securing it, and you'd never know I tore the bottom out of that. It's all of these things, where you have to learn what you can use and what you can't use. I'm just making sure that this closes before I do any other damage to it. As far as getting it to, to work. Oh, yes. Ooh, I love that damask, Carol. Oh, yes, so pretty. Can I feel that? Oh, it's gorgeous. And it is gorgeous in real life. And that's what you can do with, I'm fussy cutting out of that blue paper, the gold foil. I fussy cut some flowers out so that I could use it. And I fussy cut some leaves. As you can see, that teensy weensy leaf up there in this, almost to the center, right beside that. Yeah. And just put it down there. If you have any misgivings in your creation, cover it up. That's the beauty of mixed media. Oh, excuse me. Yes, I just had some pop. Pardon me. That was rude. It was real, but it was rude nonetheless. Yeah, some of those things happen. There you go, another cutout piece. I just turned my head there, sorry. I was looking at the snow coming down. We're starting to get a little bit more snow. Isn't that a pretty combo? Where you do a fussy cut piece in with your package of patterned paper cutouts. Paper cutouts, that's what I'm calling them. Isn't that gorgeous? I really am a mixed media person. I really love vintage and I really love shabby chic. I was thinking I'm actually going to, well, after I get my books done, we're coming up to tax time, so I'm going to probably not be on YouTube for at least another week while I get all of that caught up. So this was be my last project until all of my accounting is done. So here you go. I wanted to just add some hearts, and I wanted to cover up some of the section. I wanted to have some of the gold and some of the white. So I thought, and I wanted it to be played back into the background, right? Don't do it there, Kara. So I went and washed it. Then I came back, and on the right-hand corner there, I used the thick molding paste, the white molding paste. Just turn it around there. I'm just seeing if there's anywhere else I can use those hearts. But I chose to just do it on the inside. And isn't it pretty? That box is so pretty to me. And you wouldn't know it just to look at it plain, would you? There was nothing fancy-yancy about it. It was just a box that flipped open and had another box flip on the inside for storage. And there you have it. Look at that. I'm going to start using my stencils more. I really do love them. I have animal stencils, flower stencils, all kinds of it. But that's all I did. Gold on the upper left, white on the lower right. And there you have the flip. So I'm surprised I didn't take my heat tool and try and dry that quickly. Maybe I just kept it out of the edit, because I usually do that and dry it like with my heat gun. So here we go. I did speed it up a bit. I'm trying to see where we go next. Oh, I decided to put some tissue paper, just torn, recluse tissue paper right on the side there. That will cover anything that is, and then I tore it with my hands on purpose. And then I think I put some on the crooked. I didn't want it to be so up and down. So to get that illusion off, you just take some of your tissue paper there and make it go cattywampus, just like that. And I love that look. It just helps you to not see like you put strips, just strips of paper and moved on. It has a little bit of artsy to it, doesn't it? By adding that. And this is the beauty. And if you haven't done a box, it doesn't have to be one like this, just a normal box you get at a thrift store. They're, wherever. Now here's how I keep my Lindy stamp gang. I wanted you to see this. So can't see with my eyes there. Okay, so I cut it. I had little punch flowers. So I think you saw that in my last project. And then I had these out of a punch. And I sprayed the spray on one side. It's kind of like a thick cardboardy paper. And then I sprayed it. I put numbers, like this is a number 7. It's the bubble gum. And then I brush lettered on the other side to get some brush lettering practice. This was a long time ago I did this. I bought these maybe 3 years ago. And you can see that I put the name on one side, the number on the other, and the spray. So, and then the number on the lid with my little flower punch. And that way I just grab this ring with all the colors. I have 3 of these rings full of Lindy Stamp Gang sprays. Oh, I just had to have them all, back in the day. So I just numbered them, put them on these little ringed section ovals, and brush lettered one side, put the number on one side and the spray on the other side. The spray, the number, and then the brush lettering. And yeah, that was fun to do. I'm not as organized today, I have to tell you. No. When you first start out, I was super organized. Now I'm not as organized. I try to keep it so I know where to find it. How's that? That doesn't mean you're organized, right? But I use those zipped up bags. That helps, that you get at your stationery store. And here I'm going to use some Lindy Stamp Gang sprays on top of the white. I'll use the sponge to sponge the spray into the mixed media paste. And it all comes together, my friends. Here I'm just getting out some of the Tim Holtz inks. Not the oxides, just, yes. I spilled a whole glass of pop doing this project. Yes, it was horrible. The lid part flicked to the left where my pop was, spilt it right over. I had it all over my island, all over my stuff to the left. It came down and went down the side. Yeah, it took me an hour and a half to clean it all up. So now I am much more cautious on where I place my liquid, whatever I'm drinking, my juice, my pop, my iced tea, whatever it is. I want it out of the way if I'm doing a project like this. Yeah, I should have it out of the way anyway, but you know how crazy irresponsible I am. Yes, that taught me a lesson. I had my pop so far away from me, I had to get off my chair and go get it. I went into a coma when it spilt. You know, you just automatically, the only good thing was is my roll of paper towels is right there where it spilt. I just grabbed it and unrolled the whole thing. I just let it roll and sopped up as much as I could. And then you have the cleanup because it's sticky, right? So yeah, that was in the middle of this project. Good thing I had a roast in the crock pot, right? All of these mishaps, you just don't know what's going to happen. And look at this. Like I said, the easiest thing to cover, you'll love it at the time, is to get your tissue paper. Cover everything in tissue paper, especially the inside where you're going to put things. You're not going to see a lot of this on the inside. And if you have a lot of corners, like I said, you know, you're going to appreciate tissue paper because paper, thick paper, as is this Scrap Mir paper, yes, you're going to want tissue paper. It just folds up into the corners. It covers everything. It goes over the lip of all of your edges, and it is pretty to the eye. So that's nice, isn't it? So I pretty well use tissue paper all over. Look how, even though I'm going 8 times the normal, speed, it still looks nice. And I don't put tissue in the same direction. That's another thing. I move it sideways, up and down, whatever. And even if I didn't cover that, I don't mind that look. You know, I ended up covering it, but I don't mind that look. I decided to use some of my pieces parts, my cutouts. I wanted to use some of those on the inside. And just to show the collection. There was no rhyme nor reason for it. It was just to show the pretty collection. And yeah, I just grabbed some of it, threw it on the other side. Doesn't that damask look nice? That stencil. So pretty. And the hearts in different, one on the top. That's generally how I work. Left top, right bottom, or vice versa. Whatever. I added some to the bottom of this. And yeah, looky. And you can see there's lots of sides to this, isn't there? And be very careful on what you have around you in liquids. That's my other thing I'm going to share. So here we go. You can tell I cleaned up quite a bit. This must have been after the pop issue. I'm going to put another cardboard tab on the opening of this, right there where it opens up. I thought that would be pretty. And it doesn't affect the magnet at all because it's on the other side. And then I put some Lindy's spray on there, and it looked really nice. I love it. I love to open up a project that you've personally done out of a thrift store item and make it your own. Look at that. Lindy's stamp gang going all over. And what do I have? My keyboard. My keyboard and my mouse right there. I'm spraying. I don't have my cover on my keyboard. This is crazy. Yeah, there we go. Oh, even in the edit, I'm having a fit. So here we go. I keep saying that. I guess I'm tired. That's why I'm reusing phrases. Sorry if it gets you bored. But you have to admit, I only did an hour and a half. I had this up to 2.5 hours. So I've been cutting it down as I've been showcasing it and fast forwarding it. So, oh, a little piece of tissue right there. Oh yeah, that looks nice, doesn't it? But then we have the other side to cut off. Look at all of that. Oh my, look at that mess. And look how easy the air bubbles. It wasn't even glued down really. I didn't use any liquid glue, and that is why. You can use double-sided tape, and you can use runner, you can use whatever, but you need liquid. You have to have liquid with it to seat thick paper. So I left that side. That side didn't have bubbles in it. as much. So I thought, okay, I can lift that and put some Mod Podge underneath, and then I'll work with it. I didn't mind this at all. And another thing, I didn't want to rip it up because of the tissue paper there and the flap. And this paper, I went right over it. Isn't that funny? I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to cover the tissue paper, and I went right over it. I just thickened up that old glue. I had to use this paper. I just had to. It was so beautiful. I had to use it. Look at that. Look at the foiled little pieces. If you hear Hunter, he's playing in the next room. And then the torn edge, so beautiful. And this stuck down like crazy. So my suggestion is Mod Podge. It is wonderful. And you know, I didn't even mind that I didn't mind it was gloss either. I would have preferred matte. If I had to do it, you know, if I had some left, I have it on my list to pick it up. I like to get that big bucket. When you go to Michael's, it's $33, and then you can use your coupon. So here we go, matching paper, ripped it from the other side. I need to tuck it underneath here. So yeah, make sure you put your liquid. Yeah, I just said that. And then you have, you know, some time to slide it. You can slide this without it getting stuck. So that's kind of nice. So I slid it underneath there, right, come on, right underneath. Isn't that gorgeous? This inside page to me, well, I loved it all. I can't even say that I was going to say the front was my favorite, but I'm telling you, I really did love all of it. So here we go, another stencil. I have never used this stencil. I found it in my stash, and I loved it. I don't know what I bought it for. It really isn't my style to buy something like this, but it worked for me. It was circular, like the flowers, you know, it had that, it wasn't boxed off. So I loved it. And I love the fact that it just incorporated the gold once again. And it's kind of a nice stencil to me. I'm going to leave where I got that. That was that, oh my, whose stencil is that? I think I show it as I'm putting it away. My favorite things, probably. I bought a lot of their stencils, so it's probably my favorite things. And look at that. I didn't, you know, I just put it up to the edge and did a 3/4 inch. Look at that. And it covered up any air pockets that were underneath, you know, that worked their way through. You didn't see it, and it just looked beautiful. That Heidi Swap molding paste in the tube, I think I bought 5 or 6 tubes because they were hard to find a while back. So I was searching for that. There's the stencil. Look at that, just sitting there on the other side. It's a good thing it didn't work its way down through there. And like I said, look at that. I do know myself. I heat setting it because I have to fold that over. I have to, you know, it does have to close. So I just find it really nice. Yeah, it's still a little wet. But I didn't want it to hit the rings, the metal rings there. So that's why I tried to speed it up. And I want to get rid of that face cloth and the actual stencil sitting there. Is it? It's called Mixables. My favorite things. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite things there. Is that what I said before? But it is my favorite things. And we're almost getting through this, my friends. We only have another 12 minutes left. I'm not sure if I do anything else to this page. I can't remember. I should look at this. I think I'm just going to do a walkthrough once it's dry. So there you have the nice cotton ribbon next to the binder clips. You open this up and you're using the Scrap Mir paper to its fullest, I think. You know, even though you're ripping sections off, I did use the tags. I did use the beautiful paper pieces. I used gold, I used flowers, I used ribbon, I used beads, the beautiful beadwork there. I used so much of the collection, even though I used a lot of stash, if it makes sense, you know. There's the leaves, okay? So I bought one of these. This is the vase that I put it in next to my window. Isn't that a pretty one? You know I love glass vases. And they just clip off. Each one just clips off, and you're able to use a little piece of the leaf, and then you just put on. There it is. You buy these with the rings on them. I don't have many of these ones because they Velcro shut. And yeah, I was trying to see if it was actually 12 inches. I was just short a little bit on the ruler in the section there. And then I tried to put my 14-inch paintbrushes. I knew my paintbrushes were 14 inches, and I'm trying to jam them into a 12-inch slot. That was funny. Then I thought, oh, my Tombow markers. You could do this. These are my graphic art pencil markers. But I thought, no, I love them in glass. You know me with putting everything out in glass. I love to showcase everything in vases in my craft room so that I can see it and use it. Excuse me. See it and use it. That was going to be a cough right there. And yeah, I took that out, but that's the idea of having the 3-ring binders, and you can keep your products in your stash from your collectibles. You know, if you buy a collection, you can house it all in here, all the leftover pieces, because there's your collection on the box. It's wonderful. These are the legs I wanted to use right there. It kept falling out of my hand, right like that. Wouldn't that look beautiful? But it wouldn't have closed on the left side. It kept falling off. There's my mouse. Like, I need that big metal thing to fall on there, right? So yeah, I put those away for another time. I'll use those legs on another project that doesn't open up like this. You can see I couldn't use it on the corner. And yeah, we're getting down, my friends. We're getting down to be finished. Just this one little section. So there you have it. That's the front. You open it up. I just think it's just really pretty. Here's where I put the tissue paper down at the bottom so you couldn't see the actual green cardboard from the box, and folded over. Look at that. And you'd never know that I had that big bulky bow and all of that ribbon. It closes nicely. And I do the same thing to the other side underneath here. And it just seemed to flow to me. You know, you have to love your own project, right? Some people just, they're clean and simple. They don't like this style of art, but I do. And the nice thing about it is I like clean and simple as well. I like it all, you know. It all has a place in, as far as art is concerned to me. I love to look at tutorials that are, you know, clean and simple projects. And there's nothing simple about art, you know, in the sense that, yes, it's clean, and yes, it's simpler than doing something like this, but yet it's very artistic in its own nature. So, yeah, I appreciate what everybody does. As long as you're doing art, you're keeping busy, and you're enjoying yourself, I think that's what counts. And like I said, I want to thank everybody that comments. I was just thinking of you, Bonnie. So many people that I miss when I don't hear from them. And I hope those that haven't commented recently that you're doing well. And those that do comment all the time, it's wonderful to hear from you. I feel like you are my friends. I feel like you're sitting right in my craft room with me and enjoying the process with me. So I thank you for that. To my subscribers, thank you very much. That means a lot, you know, to subscribe to somebody's channel. You're giving them your time, you know, and that's nice that you allow me to come into your space and share my work with you, whether it be super long tutorials like I normally do or some short ones. I do have the one LDRS creative card and envelope to showcase for you. It was on my camcorder, and it got taken off when I was cleaning out my little whatever you call that thing that you have to, you know, that gets filled up, the card that's in there, and I erased it, so I'm going to have to redo that. But I'll get that up for you. I just wanted to share a mixed media project. This box was staring at me forever, and I've had the papers from Emma in France that she so graciously gifted me, and I wanted to showcase these papers from Scrap Mir. And blush, this one is Blue and Blush is the collection name. And I think it speaks for itself, doesn't it? It's super gorgeous. And I hope you enjoy all the pictures. I think I put a lot of them. 18. Oh, I found this little burlap bag. So I put all of my pieces parts in there. All of my cutouts from this collection are going inside of here. And my papers, you know, the cut up papers that I had. And then I had another 3-ring zipped up bag that I'm going to keep my 8x8 papers. So everything will be in this collection box and ready for me to make another project so I can use up the papers. So you take care, my friends. Have yourself a blessed week. I look forward to your comments. And for those that have subscribed, I appreciate that. If you just press my head at the end of this, you'll subscribe. So there you have it, my friends, and I will see you on the next project. Take care, everybody.